Hey, welcome back to the Dynasty Grind, the weekly grind where we think more about the off-season from a dynasty perspective based on what's just recently happened. So if your team is contending and you're pushing to win the league, what do you do right now? That's reasonable to do with Dynasty, where you don't want to give up all your value. Or if you're losing, like most of my teams this year, who do you target? Who do you trade away? What types of players are you looking to acquire versus sell? Sell's a little easier. You kind of know who to sell. But targets can be a little more tricky. This week I have Dynasty Outhouse with me again, so that should be fun because he actually knows about value and stuff. So let's get into it. Drop comments in the comments section below whatever type of platform you're listening to it on, and we'll try and get round to you while we talk more generally about what to do in Dynasty leagues based on recent NFL stuff, I guess. See what I mean? When it's just me, like you can not tell that I'm trying to hide the fact that I badly need a haircut. But when I bring you in, it's like, oh yeah, that guy needs a haircut. Yeah, know what I mean?
No, I tried.
We're live again. Hey, all three people, how you doing? So what do you want to talk about this way? What happened last week or is happening right now that you think is dynasty relevant? For me, most of my questions came up around tight ends. You've got TJ Hawkinson with 2 bad games, apparently vacating his targets somewhere else. Who knows?
Not to Quintus Cephas, I'll tell you that much now.
Vacated targets just face planting like they do each and every time this year, by the way. Also, I've got a list of potential players to target based on if you're a contender, just because I was asking around on Twitter, who would you sell who's scoring 16 points or more a game right now this season, who you would literally trade away just for a late first, any late first, and some interesting names came up. And then, well, you've got lots of tight ends dying, actually. You've got Mark Andrews becoming the tight end 1, and then TJ Hawkinson and Darren Waller suddenly having, like, Waller's had, 3 out of the last 4 games below 11 points or so. Stuff like that. And that doesn't seem overly interesting to anyone but me, like a nerd. Like, they're tight ends. No one cares.
I did. Most of my teams are tight ended by Logan Thomas, who's hurt, Waller, who has not been great, and Hawkinson, who has also just kind of stopped doing well. So I am also concerned. I also think about this. So I am right there with your nerdy self.
I got a lot of Evan Ingram and Hunter Henry. It's been a year. Buy Russell Wilson in Superflex. What's he worth? He's a Russell Wilson in Superflex, so I know you're not getting him for less than 2 firsts.
His price is not affected by missing a couple of games. I thought he was going to be out longer. I spent so much on Geno Smith in every single league I'm in because last thing I read, that Wilson was going to miss like 7 games. Now he's going to miss like 3, especially because they have a bye week in the middle. So it's not really that big of a deal. Okay, but let's talk about Russell Wilson in general.
Mm-hmm.
Until I see him score good points after week 9, I am not buying Russell Wilson. I've been a fantasy football player for longer than Russell Wilson's career. I've been a Seahawks fan for longer than Russell Wilson's career. That dude just doesn't finish season strongly, mostly because Pete Carroll needs to establish it in the winter. I mean, let's just call it what it is. But they have a new OC who is more pass friendly, was the passing game coordinator for the Rams last year. And we hope that means something once winter rolls around, once like week 9, week 10 roll around. But again, I'm not going out of my way to buy Russell Wilson until I see that. But let's pretend we are. He's like, 34, 35. We had the past 2 years, a lot of influx of very good quarterback talent. Every day that goes by, Russell Wilson will get cheaper. So if you are into Russell Wilson, which there is, I mean, in real life, he's freaking great. You know, like watching him play is just so much fun. But for fantasy, but like, let's pretend
9 difference making games from a quarterback is, better than most quarterbacks.
That is also fair, but I used to have him on a couple of teams because I was a fan of the player, because I was a fan of the team. And I've lived through too much of that heartache at the end of the season. I've lost too many playoff games. I've been kicked out of the playoffs too many times because I got 8 points because he threw the ball 13 times. And don't get me wrong, 8 points off of 13 throws is really good because Russell Wilson is very good at being efficient, but it's not great for fantasy. Say all this stuff to the person who has Russell Wilson on their team and see if you can throw a nice shiny new toy at them and see if you can send, I don't know, who's young but not great. I mean, I can't think
Baker
of anyone
Mayfield.
There you go. Perfect. Baker Mayfield. Start with a second, be willing to spend a first on top and see how it goes.
Baker Mayfield's one of those quarterbacks who is young, is good, like in a Russell Wilson fashion. He's a good, decent quarterback, but I think his fantasy value is always just a little bit higher than his actual production, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, he's on a run first team, and he is very kept under control in that offense. Run first and second
team. And you've got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So who wouldn't be, to be fair? But what I was going to say, the only thing I could add to that is I don't think Russell Wilson's getting where he's injured right now. We'll probably be seeing something like his value in the offseason. So if you want to buy him now, and that's not a bad time over the next week or so. And I like buying older quarterbacks, to be honest with you, with difference-making potential. You know, most older quarterbacks don't have that. He's 10 years younger than Tom Brady.
Everyone in the league is 10 years younger than Tom Brady.
Fair. So yeah, I don't mind it. I would trade for him, but you're going to be paying at least 2 firsts. It's not something you want to do if you have any contention this year. And trading first on a non-contender isn't a terrible idea. It's just
that's not the direction you want to go if you
it's
want
not my first move. If I'm giving up this year, buying an older quarterback isn't it right now. But I don't mind the idea. I'd keep it in mind for sure. And just traded Jacoby Myers for a 2023 Knox. Yeah, that's fine.
Jacoby Myers will never be anything, and Knox.
Man, that's harsh. He'll catch a touchdown eventually.
I was about to say, the guy hasn't caught a touchdown since like high school. What do you want from me? Dawson Knox has found his way to be a major part of that offense. The disappearance of Gabe Davis and Manny Sanders existing on big plays is perfect for Knox. Knox is finding his way into the end zone. He's their red zone, and he gets a decent target share, and in a position that overall kind of sucks. Yeah,
I mean, he's a decent streamer, and it's hard to find decent streamers in dynasty leagues because they're always rostered. You can't pick him up off the waiver. And I think
at this point in a 12-team league, I think you're fine starting him every single week until he proves you otherwise. And honestly, even if you get a 5-point game out of him, a 3-point game, you're going to get that out of every single tight end that doesn't score a touchdown.
Yeah, I think the value's fine, and
you're probably Waller, and
you're probably getting the better points this year. And honestly, if you want to. I mean, there's an outside chance Jacoby Myers grows in this offense. This is an offense that won't necessarily give up on a player because he has no draft capital. And he's good. He's clearly good.
Yes.
I think Kendrick Bourne's clearly good, and so is Jonah, and so is Hunter Henry. So yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, that's fine. You get more points this year. That's a win.
Yes.
I'd say that's a win.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. I was hoping this is a buy. It kind of is. This is a trade guy, but I'm going to say it depends who our roster's in. That really is it. If the guy's just fed up,
well, it's like Peter has said many, many times. You're not really buying low, but your window is wide open right now. Yeah. You know, someone's going to be annoyed that Russell Wilson got hurt because Russell Wilson doesn't miss games, and it's like now he misses. Really, they have the offensive coordinator that likes throwing the ball, and now he gets hurt. So you just go in like, look, Baker Mayfield in a second. Let's do this, and maybe it happens. It's a buying opportunity, but it's not a buy low opportunity. So
that's what I'd say as well. Don't just send the value for Wilson. I'd explore sneakily improving your team elsewhere. Like send for Russell Wilson and some other player like a Knox, like a Cordell Patterson or whoever he's got in his team. It's actually going to improve your team. And you're going to get value on Russell Wilson in that he's still worth a lot, but the guy is actually willing to trade it. But I'd just explore a different type of trade. I would send some sort of package on both sides. But again, it's not necessarily the first move I'm going to make if my team sucks. I'm mostly going to I'm going to be looking for the stuff that's more valuable to other people because I'm going to want to trade. That's kind of where I'm at. Like I want to trade for first. I want to trade for young players because this offseason, I think I'm going to get more for them. and I'm
Always.
going to be trying to boost my team up that way. And I've got so many sucky teams this year, guys. I'm doing it, so I'm in this headspace. Don't get that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah. What do you expect to happen with Hollywood when Bateman enters the lineup? I'm going to keep reading for now. Are either a sell? Do we have data around what usually happens when you miss a bunch of games as a rookie? Yeah. There's a lot there. I'm both a Marquise Brown truther and a Bateman truther, so they fight in my head kind of a lot. Like I love both of them. Ultimately, I'm trying to level Marquise Brown up, or I'm holding him on my roster. The overall view is I expect Marquise Brown to keep being this. I don't think Bateman's the one that's got something to prove. I don't think he's going to walk in and take over the job. I'm hoping he has a good rookie season, which is 600 yards and around 11 to a 15% target share. That's a good rookie season.
Oh, man, you said 11. I thought you were going to say 11 touchdowns. I'm like, whoa, buddy.
No. And despite what we've seen recently, now the problem with Bateman is missing games doesn't excuse you from those likely thresholds. If he doesn't do something like that, his value is going to drop in Dynasty a little bit, and those guys miss about 94% of the time. So there's a lot riding on it. But I definitely don't think he's going to push Andrews, and nor do I think our assumption should be he's going to push Andrews and push Brown out the way. But there is a lot riding now on a shorter season for Mr. Bateman. But I do expect to see him do something if he is good. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, if he's as good as I think he is, I think he'll own his own targets and his own production, but he doesn't need to push either of those guys out the way to do it. So keep expecting Brown and Andrews to be the main guys, but wait with bated breath to see Marquise Brown literally elbow out everyone else on the team. Like Sammy Watkins is actually doing
breath. Yeah. Bateman. I like that.
Bateman breath. Sammy Watkins is actually doing a lot on this team. He's having a good year. And I think the fact that Sammy Watkins is a good NFL player is kind of underrated by our disappointment. Like he was really ramped up for this season, and I think he's done a great job. But there's more than enough room, even around Sammy Watkins, for Bateman to work his way in. But Sammy Watkins could be a guy who loses opportunity or gets worked out of certain roles or certain red zone touches. There's more than enough room there, and that's where my head's at. What's going to happen, or the past history of it, is exactly that. If Bateman is good, he should earn targets and earn a role. Like, missing games doesn't excuse him from that. That's what I know of. Having said that, Michael Pittman might need a reassessment. To be honest, he's doing really well this year, and he did miss a lot of time as a rookie. If you want a positive comparison, thoughts on Amari Cooper? What picks or players could I try to target? Good question. I'm more likely to trade for an Amari Cooper. But again, it depends who's rostering and where their head's at, because he's an older wide receiver. That tends to be
it's so weird to call Amari Cooper older at this point, right?
Like,
to me, he's old, he's 24 or something like that. But he's 27. Like, he's been in the league for so freaking long. But still, yeah, he's 27. In which case, he's 27, and his cap hit is huge next year. So there's always the chance that Dallas doesn't want to pay it. Maybe so we might have like a 28-year-old wide receiver going to a new team next year, and that's usually where we get terrified as a community and just kind of say no thank you. So
also, I don't think the news, like, I really didn't expect, and it didn't, that CD was just going to take over that job, because Amari Cooper is so good, especially at acquiring volume for himself. And he hasn't pushed Amari Cooper out the way, but he has become the wide receiver one in opportunity and scoring. I don't think that news has settled into whoever owns Amari Cooper right now. Now his ceiling is a little more muted because it's CeeDee Lamb time. And hats off to CeeDee Lamb. Really didn't think he could even... I thought he was going to be very, very good, and I said he was a buy. I got it right, but at the same time, my expectations and projections wasn't for him to be the lead point scorer this year, and he is. I don't think whoever's rostering Cooper right now has probably let that settled in, so it might... Cooper's probably someone I'm targeting this offseason rather than right now. What's he worth right now? I don't know why it's the answer to every question so far, but it's like 2 first value. And then
I don't think you have to pay 2 firsts. Like, I think if you go with a first and a second, you can probably get it done with the right person. Okay. It depends on, like...
That seems fair.
Yeah.
And I would be totally into that right now. That's what I'm hoping to kind of send out later.
Because no one feels great about having Amari Cooper unless he's like your wide receiver 3 or 4 on your team. And that takes some team finesse to make Amari Cooper your wide receiver 3 or 4. So that's not a very common situation. So
and the reason, he doesn't have the ceiling either. Like CeeDee Lamb could legitimately be one of those difference makers, either this season or next season. Yeah. Cooper's just steady Eddie. He gives you good points. He's going to give you valuable points.
2 games every year he disappears.
It's literally 2 games. No, what's the veteran comparison? Like Antonio Brown, Calvin Johnson, those difference-making wide receivers year over year. I think that is outside of a Cooper's
correct
upside. I don't think that'll settle into the Cooper owner just yet. So beware what you're buying as well. It's not just a good older receiver. It's a guy with, I don't think he's going to win you next year, but you'll want him on your roster next year, in my opinion.
Yes, he's a good piece on a roster.
I traded Ben, Dalton Schultz, and a first. Wait,
for Russell Wilson.
Oh, right. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I do that now.
I mean, that's super low. I'm going to be honest.
That's really low.
Nobody wants Ben on their team. Dalton Schultz I sold him for a second recently, so that's a first, a second, and for Russell Wilson. That it shouldn't get it done. If it does, good for you, man. Awesome.
The problem is a contender doesn't want to start Big Ben.
Exactly right. You're gonna have to, like, if that were Kirk Cousins, that get it done.
That'd be damn, yeah.
Like if you can get like a low end QB1, high end QB2 kind of guy, kind of like if you just threw Baker in there, you definitely get that done with Baker.
I don't think
because you have that decrease in age.
I don't think it's an insulting offer. Like the guy shouldn't be like, screw this guy. But
first of all, if anyone does do that after seeing a trade in a game that we play, then you just need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. But no, it's like if I had Russell Wilson on my team, I saw that offer, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that, and I hit reject. Like there's no thinking. I see that, I'm just like, nope.
And if you get a reject, you're gonna have to. It's not high enough that they're gonna counter if they don't like it.
Yes. If someone said, well, do you want to counter? And I'm like, you're going to have to send me something. If I counter, it's going to be a different offer, in which case you just need to send me a better offer.
If they counter, then that's your owner, guy. That's someone that you can actually work with, getting him at a value. If not, the boys are back. Hey, Ridley, truth. Lockett will suffer. Lockett is the best wide receiver to have. Risk built in for his dud week. But those boom weeks, you can predict at least. Look, he's DK Metcalf slightly older, and he's more likely to get higher volume. He's more versatile as a wide receiver, in my opinion.
Just not as good through contact.
Because, neither are trains. Compared to DK Metcalf, I think that's, that's fair. But, so... Yeah, that's how I would think of him, is an older DK Metcalf who can be slightly more versatile when a team suffers like a Russell Wilson injury, which rarely ever happens, or he moves to a different team. I'm more interested in Lockett on a different team than DK on most teams.
He just got re-signed, so that's not happening anytime soon.
And
he's already 28.
And boom and bust, sure, but so's DK Metcalf. Again, I just want to point that out. But
the Seahawks passing game is boom or bust, which is why even as a Seahawks fan, I could never get behind DK Metcalf being a top 3 dynasty wide receiver, because he is not safe enough to be considered that.
Yeah. The thing is, you've got players like Amari Cooper who are just really good producers. Like, you want them; they should be elite tier. And then you've got that super elite tier, which is their difference making in that season. This year, it's like. I'd have to pull it up. I'm losing so badly, I'm not even looking anymore. But
sadly, we put Cooper Kupp in there right now. But Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb are going to be at the top of everyone's dynasty rankings. Tyreek Hill is probably still up there. Those are your difference makers. Those are the guys that can put up 40 on any given week, and honestly, they could do it 3 weeks in a row sometimes.
It's 20 points per game. That's the line. Whoever's scoring 20 points per game of this different making kind of player. It's Marquise Brown, Deebo Samuel, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Mike Williams right now, and Cooper Kupp. Some of those were hard to project into there, whereas those like Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams were pretty easy to get in there, because we've seen it from them before. And so the thing with someone like Lockett is he's a different kind of player. He's going to be that level of difference maker at least half the games. And so it's kind of this extra tier, where he has that upside and also doesn't. And that's not just a function of Lockett. It's a function of sustained volume with that level of production. You're trying to predict it is literally, you're Devontae Adams or Tyreek Hill with Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. Like, it's just fairly rare. And so I think Lockett's of the world tend to get underrated because people get worried about those bust weeks, when really it's incredibly valuable to have them on your roster.
Yeah, but again, it's all relative to where you have them on your team. If Tyler Lockett is your wide receiver 5 on your team, you put him in your lineup every single week because you can live through a 5-point week, but a 50-point week, which he's come close to before, he's going to win it. He's going to win you the week because he's your wide receiver 5.
Literally. I was just checking there wasn't something else I missed on that question. I talk about Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf so much, I just get on a spiel and I forget the specific context, but I think we got it.
They're here for you. That's what they're here for. So you talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Wait, you're contending and trying to trade for Russell Wilson. Okay, so I had that slightly backwards.
Yeah, but even still, that's not enough to get Russell Wilson.
It's still, I mean, if they're not contending,
yes, there you go. If they're not contending, then Big Ben is just
of no.
Like I reject the trade because it has Big Ben on it. If my team
neither's Schultz because they're going to suspect he's a 1-year thing. So essentially, you're trying to buy him for a first and points they don't need.
Yeah, like you're gonna have to. You're saying here, take this Dalton Schultz because you'll be able to move him. So you do more work, so I don't have to.
I mean, it's worth like someone like I'm bottom of a league and a very smart like dominates leagues when I'm in with him. He sent me Miles Sanders for T. Higgins. Like it happens. Like I just had to stop for a moment. Like what about my bottom of the league team says that I could use a Miles Sanders right now? Very smart man. So those offers get sent out, but I
am absolutely guilty because like I go through spurts of just like I want to go buy T. Higgins. I go to every single league. I see who's T. Higgins. I don't look at the main page. I go straight to rosters. I hit T.
That's how I do
Control F Higgins, and I send an offer. I don't look at other people's team.
I go looking for players, not for teams that might need trade. But then I do try and make a trade that makes sense to that team. Here's the thing: like I love getting a trade offer. I got nothing else to do in that league, so I'll counter it later. So like it's worth sending, especially if they're not a contender, because they got bug all else to do. They may as well entertain trade offers.
Yeah,
fine. Sorry. Hey folks, which non-QB over 30 would you send for a first in a trade? Actually, I got a list. I don't know about the age, but we were talking about it on Twitter earlier because something Matt Price mentioned, like he thought you could do better than Antonio Brown for a first. And so I was asking, like,
Antonio Brown
who can you buy?
And, I haven't seen Antonio Brown actually go for a first anywhere. I've seen him move for plenty of seconds.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. I think Antonio Brown is in and around that value. Send a second, apparently, but I think he's one. Emmanuel Sanders, probably less than a first.
Yes.
Tyler Lockett,
less than a first.
I think Tyler Lockett's got to be a first or more, surely. I was surprised to see that name. And someone mentioned Deontay, who's definitely not over 30, neither is Lockett.
You need to send a first for Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, that's a weird list. I think a first for Deontay right now is way too low.
It might get it done for someone who's annoyed with him getting hurt at this point. And
that's why I put him on the list. I thought it was interesting. Yeah.
And if they are looking to score points now, you want out of the Pittsburgh offense, maybe except for Najee. So people might just want to move on from him.
Yeah, but if you're a contender, the ones that seem to come up for everyone was like Kareem Hunt. Why you added Manny Sanders in?
I ended
Darrell Henderson, James Robinson. I think is really interesting because I think people put him on that list mainly because undrafted free agent with the ETN coming back, and I'm not as concerned about that as some. So he could be not just this year, and so I think he's a little more interesting. So is Kareem Hunt for the same reason. Also, I put Hunt and Chubb on the list because we're starting to talk about those guys are going to look real old this offseason, even though they're real good. And so a non-contending team. I doubt any team that has Nick Chubb is not contending, but just in case, like if a non-contender has Chubb on, they might be. It won't be just one single first, though. No, really, no one's trading Chubb for a single first, but he might be a trade target if they're not contending and you are.
Always worth a shot.
I heard today Knox had 0 touchdowns in college, and now has a higher TD rate than Bob Tonyan. Yeah,
Robert Tonyan
did last year. Definitely more targets, but that chilled me out. A bit. But TE landscapes is so scarce. Yeah, I mean, you've typically got 2 or 3 guys that matter, and then you've got a core of really good guys. Mike Gesicki is perpetually on that list, and no one cares. Everyone's trying to guess the next Dawson Knox when you can pay at any time, you can buy Mike Gesicki for whatever Knox is now worth, and you can get it. You know it's coming, but it costs the same as all of those. I thought that about Evan Ingram then, though. So maybe that's not working out.
Gesicki had a scary start to the season, though. I won't lie.
Yeah. But that's the thing. So that tier is up and down. It's up and down.
But you're talking too recently, too soon, too high level for this question. Almost no tight ends do much in college. So a tight end having 0 touchdowns means literally 0 to me. Like
one of the problems of evaluating them is like the best ones were doing either other sports or only played a single year in college as a wide receiver. Like Rob Gronkowski, Jimmy Graham, like none of them actually played much in college. So
I heard Jimmy Graham played basketball in college.
Yeah. I've never heard that. Antonio Gates, I believe, was a hockey player, right? No.
Goalie, no less, yeah.
No, we don't know what a good tight end looks like. We just assume it looks something like a good wide receiver in college.
Yeah.
So 0, no, it doesn't scare me. I think he's fine. But again, those guys are more likely to Robert Tonyan the next year. I mean, that's why the Waller Kelseys of the world actually matter. No, and all the sleepers and Kittle and Andrews entered this season of those with the potential, but we had more questions, and Andrews is doing it and Kittle is hurt. So there are other names out there that could hit that tier, and those are the names I'm more interested in. But as far as Knox goes, it's fine. I don't care. Should I trade my first round pick for Hurts? You in a 1 quarterback league?
Wait, 1 quarterback or 2 quarter or super flex?
Yeah,
super flex.
Matters.
I mean,
yeah,
you're not getting him for in a super flex league for first. Fields, Tannehill, and Wentz in a 1 quarterback league. Man, I gotta be honest. I think I do it. He's scoring so much better than those 3 guys. I mean, in a 1 quarterback league, you can probably just drop Wentz.
I would try to add one of those quarterbacks and get away with just sending a second. But
yes, that is absolutely the right answer. I would absolutely be fine sending Tannehill or Wentz in a second for Hurts. I'm sure they'll come back and ask for Fields.
But if
you'd rather hold on to Fields, but even still, it doesn't matter. Hurts is scoring now.
Like if you're trying to win right now, that's literally the only thing that matters. Like get rid of Fields in a second and get those extra 3 or 4 points a game from Hurts. Like go for it.
Yes.
I would do that. And if I have to spend the first, again, I'm trying to win. I care more about that than the 27% chance I get a good player in that first round pick. And if you win, that drops because your pick's at the end of it. So I would strongly consider it if you can't make another move.
Yep.
I think we're about consensus on that.
Yep.
Would you trade Kyle Pitts for Najee Harris? No. I'm not even reading the rest of that.
PPR non-tight end premium.
John Bosch and Bob Gilchrist.
Yes, you send a tight end. You send a tight end for a stud running back. I don't. If it's not Kelsey, yes, you send a tight end in a non-tight end premium league for a stud running back. Yes.
John Bosch and Bob Gilchrist are on many podcasts. Go ask them, and they'll tell you to do it. And but I can't. I just can't. I don't care about the value insulation. I care more about the points. Najee Harris is greater than Kyle Pitts for me.
Wait, that's what he's saying. Would you trade Kyle Pitts away for Najee Harris?
Oh, did I get it backwards?
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
Am I reading it backwards?
Yes, I would do that every time.
Yes, trade Kyle Pitts away for Najee Harris. Yes, go do that right now. We'll wait.
Actually, I've been told you should get more, but
Hold on. I didn't roll my eyes hard enough there.
I wouldn't risk it. I just want Najee Harris.
Just take it. Yes, do that right now.
Especially if you're contending. I think even John Bosch might consider that. If you're really trying to win right now, then he might consider it. Maybe.
John Bosch doesn't know what he's talking about. He's so much smarter than I am.
Just gotta leave that hanging. No, he definitely knows what he's talking about.
Except for he has a blind spot for Pitts right now because the value insulation is insane. But still,
his argument is sound.
Yes,
but that's why I say because you're a contender, even John Bosch might be like,
yeah, go get Najee Harris
because John loves winning. He does. He loves winning more than anything.
Yes, he does.
He would get that, I think. Jared Goodman. Hey, how you doing? Who should I try to get by selling Cordero Patterson? Got Swift, Kamara, Henderson, so I don't need. It depends on your
roster and what you're trying to. For Patterson, and I felt great about it.
Yeah,
I mean, my team was crap, and I happened to have him on it, so I was fine taking the pick. If you're looking for a player, I mean, just think about it like that. Who would you trade a second for?
If you're winning, I wouldn't trade him. That's
yes,
what I'm
and
saying.
if you're winning, there is a lot of value in keep away. Don't get me wrong. Keep Patterson on your bench. Keep those 18 points away from everyone else. As long as you feel safe starting those other guys above him.
It's more also like one of those guys gets injured or misses a week, or it's a 17-game season and they rest someone. You need Cordero Patterson. In fact, you're going to start Patterson over Henderson some weeks would be my guess. So if you're winning this year, just keep him. If not, I'm looking for a first, but I'd sell for a second.
If not, you should probably sell Kamara. Also.
Yeah, actually. I don't know. I've got a big question mark around Kamara. Like, I don't want to, but I get it.
Kamara will always have value because he's a very good pass catcher, even though there is no passes to catch this year. But that doesn't mean his... So his value won't fall as far as most other running backs will, but his value is still going to fall.
What is this? I have to look that up now. What is he getting in the game?
2 games ago, he had 0.
Well, yeah, I'm just curious. Yeah, he's getting like 4 targets a game. That's absolutely insane for Kamara. Yeah. And the thing is, where is a receiving running back? That's what gives me pause, just to be upfront. Like receiving running backs, I'm definitely not as worried about the age cliff thing, but the value cliff is very real.
Yes.
Hey, Ridley Truther, missing a bunch of games worked out.
You just passed over. You passed over that guy asking about AJ Brown.
Did I?
It was on the screen and then you clicked off it. There you go.
Hey, Nick. Sorry, bud. What's up, gentlemen? Please tell me not to freak out about AJ Brown. Don't freak out about AJ Brown. I don't know for knees. This year, I'm freaked out. But long term, I'd still believe in the talent.
You have to hope this is a weird new offense thing because this offense looks so weird that Chester Rogers is doing so freaking good. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
I think we're at the point where we have to bake in the fact that AJ Brown is going to miss like 2-3 games this season because he's done it every single year of his career so far. I mean, may that stop? Hopefully, right? But right now, I think that needs to be baked into his price. But when he's healthy, he has to be doing better than he has been.
Here's the weird thing about AJ Brown. To make you feel good, I would be telling people that ask me who should I like. AJ Brown's a target right now. I want to start adding him to rosters because people are a little freaked out. Injury bugs have a way of clearing up eventually. I'm not saying I know that because I literally have no doctoral degree or doctor qualifications. I just know it has happened, and when he's healthy, the talent's there. So that's good. The weird situation for you is you have an undervalued player on your roster, and I have a lot of teams where I love most of the players on my team, but they're all undervalued, which means only I value them, which is a weird situation to be in. So I would be worried, but I definitely don't think because he's already on your roster, you're just gonna have to keep hope. That's what I'm saying.
You're not gonna want to try and trade him away now because you're not going to get as much as you should. I will say I have a contending team with AJ Brown, who I am not starting right now. And there's a team that is not great that has Kamara. And I did just try go AJ Brown for Alvin Kamara and it got rejected. As it should have, but it was worth a shot.
Worth a shot. I would look, he's still pretty young. He's gonna come back to being AJ Brown eventually. And what I would do is write this down or put it in a little note file in your head. I don't know if everyone else puts note files in their head, but I do.
Nope, just you. You and Sherlock Holmes.
How scared you are of him right now. Because then when he becomes back to being AJ Brown, that's a great time to trade a player you're less certain about. Because he does have that potential, but it's worth remembering when he does have good games again. Like, yeah, that's the only other thing I'd say. Remember that there can be cause for concern when he starts producing again. Mr. Bunch, I already said that. Kadarius Tony worked out. Yeah, what do you think of Tony, by the way? Because I'm definitely trending dead wrong, to be clear.
Like I don't remember anyone saying anything good about Kadarius Tony.
No, literally everyone hated him.
It was like I
No,
really I
no.
honestly, was there someone that liked him?
No,
Because
there's someone. He's new. He's up and coming. I spent a lot of time talking to him. Connell LaPlante. I'll find his app if anyone's interested in it. He's been on the
you
Tony
might as
train
well
this
call him
entire
out.
time.
Even
Even Matt Spencer from RotoViz, he was pointing out that we were overly down on him, and I wasn't even saying that. So I think Matt deserves a little credit there too.
yeah,
But yeah,
I will call myself awesome because on my rebuilding teams, I got him on all of them because no one wanted him on their team. So
yeah, I literally missed
when
it.
you're selling
Just-
when you're selling veterans and you're selling points off, you could just throw in Tony. And so I have like 6 shares of him at some point, just because I kept getting him. But
That's
I mean,
how I got Michael Thomas. I should have known better. Like Michael
yeah.
Thomas was falling to the end of the first round in his draft, but I was
Yep.
like, well, he does have Drew Brees and he's tall. So I drafted
Hey man,
him a
I
bunch of
got
places.
Corey
And I
Coleman, Josh Doxson, and Sterling Shepard, baby. Yeah,
yeah,
you take your Michael Thomas
yeah.
and your wide receiver one. But man, like Kadarius, like I don't remember the last time I saw a wide receiver change direction like he does. It's scary good. Like as long as that man's legs don't like break and every fiber of his tendons and muscles, he's gonna be good. And as long as he's durable enough to keep doing what he's doing, will he lose work when Shepard and Slayton come back and Galladay come back? I mean, maybe, but I mean, who am I sitting next to? The man that has pretty much coined the phrase "you earn your, talent earns targets." He's earning those targets, and they might not be going away very quickly.
this has
Especially,
been 2 games, and it wasn't just because Shepard was out. He started it before Shepard left. There's other targets on the team. I mean, I have to say he's doing a lot better. I do stick by my rookie profiles though, and athletic production is harder to sustain just long term as well. Like you can't keep being as athletic as you can being a nuanced route runner or a nuanced catcher of the ball, I guess. But for right now, like there's no reason to suspect that this is because of something else. This is something he's doing, and it's impressive.
mm-hmm.
And so I did just want to call that out because I love it. I don't know why, but I like pointing out when I get things wrong. Mainly because it's the only way I improve. If I never notice when I get things wrong, I wouldn't know to change. So yeah, it's worth noting. Hey Kevin, how you doing, bud?
Okay.
Mr. Lee, how do both of you value quarterbacks in single quarterback leagues?
I don't.
Actually, it is interesting. Right now, there's enough quarterbacks that are producing like Mahomes and Herbert and Hurts right now that they
Those are the
actually
guys that
have an
matters.
effect.
Yeah.
So we're entering an era where the top level of quarterback production actually maybe starts mattering a little bit.
Yeah, if they're not, it's funny. I remember I was in one quarterback league, and in that league, I had Mahomes, Deshaun Watson before all of this, and Matt Stafford, and I hated it. I was so angry every single week, where it's just like, oh no, cool, I have these guys sitting on my bench. Yes, but like Peter was just saying, it's only those guys that are legitimate difference makers: Mahomes, Kyler, Herbert. I mean, and now Jalen Hurts, like he's scoring enough points that it's going to be there.
And because it doesn't seem to be arbitrary, and the passing is increasing in production. Like it's like most quarterbacks who had that difference-making season ended up not doing it the next season. Aaron Rodgers, same thing. Peyton Manning was the only exception. Matt Ryan's had multiple top 5 seasons, but they're all separated. Mahomes, Murray, Herbert, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, these guys seem to be doing it year over year. And it's a different kind of thing right now where the league's shifted a little bit. So honestly, there's at least a core 5 right now that they do kind of matter. Outside of that, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like Joe Burrow isn't in it. And it's not because he's a passing, like Herbert's a passing QB. He's just, could Joe Burrow get there? Yeah, but I guess that will be the difference in one QB leagues. If they haven't done it before, I don't care. I'm not going to try and guess it.
Yes, exactly. It's not worth it. Not worth paying for it.
I have both Herbert and Darnold in the league, and I've thought multiple times about selling Herbert.
Yes, you're crazy.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Like I love Darnold. I've wanted Darnold to be a thing for a while. I was a fan of him coming into the league, even though USC quarterbacks just never work, except for Carson Palmer. But man, like in a one quarterback league, you're just not going to get the value of what Herbert can be for your team when he throws 4 touchdowns every 4 for 5-6 games a season. I would rather just
one quarterback. No, it's just no.
Is that
no
not?
One's gonna,
this is the guy. He was the
yeah,
one that
it's the
just
same guy. You're right. You're not going to get the value back.
Here's my thing. If you can get enough of a difference maker at a different position, like if you can go change Herbert for a top 10 running back, okay, maybe I do that. And then be fine with the points that Darnold's going to give me, because Darnold will still give you plenty of points.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah. So if you can get enough for him, but in a one quarterback league, it's kind of tough to imagine that.
But yeah, Outhouse is right. Russ Fisher, as he's officially known, I believe. No one's going to give it you. If someone's sending you trades, then you can definitely trade Herbert. Amari Cooper is my wide receiver 3. I have Diggs, Cup, and Deontay Johnson. This is just
I love
like
that wide receiver core. A
That's
little bit, yeah.
good.
Man, I just need Diggs to start being Diggs again.
Diggs is going to start being Diggs again. He's pretty soon, actually. He's underperforming his value pretty significantly. Yeah, it's like 10th in expected points, 14 in expected points share. He had 8.9 points last week. Yeah, it's going to change. My soul. This isn't a Knox catching touchdowns thing. I wouldn't worry about Diggs. He's going to bounce back up.
Oh, yeah.
Cup, we saw the heights of what he can do, and he's going to get better again, but like probably not what he did the first few games or so.
I mean, like we hated on Robert Woods because Robert Woods was totaling like the wide receiver 40 something, but still he was putting up like 12 points a game every single game. No, like the Cup and Woods will always be safe. And when you have wide receivers like Diggs, Cup, Deontay, and Amari Cooper, getting 13 points out of one of them is absolutely fine every single week, because what any of these guys can give you 30 in one of those weeks.
And Nathan's the one who's asking about trading Cooper. I think that's his point. And you can trade Cooper in that situation. I'm not scared at all. 1.1 QB PPR. Trade away Antonio Brown for Higgins in a late first.
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown, yeah. For everything we just said, like I like Higgins a lot, but AJ Brown's a different kind of.
If it were a mid-early first, I'd feel better about it. If I had a chance to get one of those running backs, I guess it would have to be really early for that in a one quarterback league. So, I mean, what are you going to say? What, hope to get like Higgins and Olave or Justin Ross or something like I don't get me wrong.
No idea who
Clemson, big wide receiver. He's big Clemson wide receiver.
Don't care. Don't.
Yes, you should.
I will tell you, reading the tea leaves.
Clemson, a big wide receiver.
Stop it. 22.
Don't tell me to stop. How dare you? I'm your guest. You don't talk to me like that.
Mute you. You're not my guest. You're my co-host. I've decided, so I can talk mean to you. Here's the thing about 2022. I think they're going to be undervalued picks in the sense. Remember 2020 or 2019 when next year's picks worth more than this year's picks. I think that's going to be similar to this year. So like I would honestly wait to buy 2022 seconds because people are going to kind of want to flip them. The class is going to say, I literally don't know the names yet, but I listen to enough in the Devi community to know the talk is going to be 2022 bad.
Yes.
Basically like good depth, but no standouts. And so I think the picks are going to be undervalued by the time we get there. Worth knowing. I mean, how much you want to let that affect your decision to trade or not. But the fact that you're including one in here, I thought I'd mention it with Higgins. Like it's basically Higgins plus, Rondon Moore upside for AJ Brown. You got a 27% shot at getting that, and you probably prefer AJ Brown overall. Made an offer for Amari to a rebuilding team, a first, second, and Gallup. But he won't accept anything less than Jeudy in a first, which I can't give my Jeudy away. If it really didn't exist, I'd be a Jeudy truther. That's fair.
Honestly, I've called Jeudy Ridley plus. So I mean, like, I am, Ridley's my guy, but man, I love me some Jeudy also.
People continue to be higher. Like, I don't see that level of outside for Jeudy. I like him, but everyone wants to put him in that like difference making kind of.
Oh no, he definitely needs to earn it. I think he's capable of it. He's better. He's almost as good as Calvin Ridley at everything, except Jeudy is better in open space than Ridley is.
I don't know what those words mean. Yeah, I just think he's got like Amari Cooper upside, not Calvin Ridley upside.
No one really saw Calvin Ridley having Calvin Ridley upside.
Jake Anderson probably said he did back in the day. But
Who?
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm not saying I
Was he
always
talking
know.
about fantasy golf? Or
I
don't know.
I'm gonna say I am. Yeah, I'm not there on Jeudy yet. I think he's good, but he's got Sutton on the team. I think he's
That's fine.
got a more likely upside. Judy's volume player. Like I like Jeudy a lot, but everyone wants to already put him in a category. I just can't get with it.
First and second to Gallup isn't a bad offer, so don't like be down on yourself.
No,
that.
that's
Just that dude didn't want to do it.
That dude just doesn't want to trade him, which happens. Trust me.
Yeah.
Expectations for Michael Thomas when he returns: hold or trade now.
You won't get anything for him, so there's no point in trading now.
I think you'll get things for him. I'm holding though. Like again, he's a guy. It's easier to kind of expect that level of production because we've seen him do it before. Situations change. New Orleans is probably going to change. You got to hope come this off season. So yeah, I got slightly high hopes. I'll always buy the older wide receiver with proven production.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd hold. Yeah, he needs a QB and a tight end. QB and T bad. I tossed all my 22 picks.
At that point, seconds, thirds, and fourths aren't going to get you anywhere anyway.
Second, thirds, and fourth. I don't know. I like him. I like targeting him. I like putting him in trades.
Not in a trade of this size,
because people give him away so freely. But no, when people just ignore him when the main part of that offense is this uber attractive young player. They're like, just get rid of the noise. Yeah. So yeah, it's not going to sway him. Buy or sell Metcalf following his Russ's injury. I mean,
again, it's only going to be 3 or 4 games, so it does absolutely nothing to DK Metcalf's value.
Yeah, outside of that, I sell DK Metcalf because I'm with Russ. I think the upside's slightly exaggerated. The best tight ends play basketball. Tony G, Jimmy G. Yeah, exactly. They literally don't play football.
And apparently, if your last name starts with a G, you're good.
The exceptions are
Antonio Gates.
Travis Kelce. He had a pretty decent, normal, regular college season, and he was productive. And Evan Ingram and Kyle Pitts. Those all look like good tight ends in college and worked out in the NFL so far.
See, the thing is, like, it's the older generation that basketball helped. Now they know what real move tight ends are, so it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, I called you old.
I've been rostering a guy called Kenny Yeboah. He's, I think, on the Jets practice squad right now, and it's purely because he's got the weirdest journey to, like, he didn't play and he played in junior college, and then he only played in 1 year in regular college football and did pretty well as a receiver. And the reason I'm rostering him isn't just because size, speed, and the production that 1 year matches up. It's because he had a weird path. I'm like, that could be the next guy. That could be it.
Could be your Moritz Boehringer.
I mean, Galaxy branding it a little bit, but it's free and it's fun. I like the name.
Fun.
Kenny Yeboah. It's a good name.
Yeah.
Lordy. Harris is more replaceable than Pitts. Sorry.
Yeah, but Harris is still going to outscore Pitts. Doesn't matter. I mean, we're talking about 1 year in scoring, and which is all that really matters to me.
Yeah, Harris is replaceable than Pitts, sure, but Harris's points matter more, and not for this season. Harris is not more replaceable than Pitts this year. He's not. I can replace Pitts' production right now with a tandem of 2 different guys people will give away for
Knox
seconds.
And Schultz.
That's Pitts right now. And you can't do that.
Like, Pitts has to become Kelsey for that to matter.
Yeah, and
he might be. Don't get me wrong. He absolutely might be.
I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be good, but there's a difference. It's just different.
His value is already Kelsey value, and he's not there yet. AJ's injury part. Okay, so here's the thing. Keenan Allen's injuries had literally absolutely nothing to do with each other. He tore his ACL 1 year, and then he ruptured his spleen the next. Those had absolutely nothing to do with each other. AJ Brown's kind of have something to do with each other. You know, it's usually the same hamstring, and it's all lower leg issues. That's a little different. That's a little more related feeling, at least, than 2 things that are in completely separate parts of your body. So I'm a little more worried about AJ Brown's injury than I was at the time Keenan Allen's injuries.
Yeah, I was never worried about Keenan Allen.
Never worried about Keenan Allen's injury.
AJ Brown is a little concerning. I just think he's going to at least produce like that again at some point.
Yeah, he's talented enough to be awesome when he plays, so I am less worried about him.
At least there'll be a better window, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
You said sell Kamara. What should I look for in return? Why is every answer to everything 2 firsts? Why?
But I mean, for Kamara, kind of is, even though you probably won't get anymore because the offense isn't doing that great. I mean, if you're a contender, why are you selling Kamara is the real question. Like, what are you hoping to get back? Like, if you can get, all right, hold on. So if you're selling Kamara and you can get I mean, technically, Kamara is still more valuable than Najee Harris in my head. So if you can get Najee plus, oh yeah, man. Like even if it's like a second, I'd do that. I mean, if you're competing and Kamara's in your starting lineup, I'm not selling Kamara unless I'm getting a decent replacement. Give me 80% plus someone that I could fill in for bye weeks, or a second round pick that I can turn into something that I'm gonna fill in for bye weeks. I mean, I'm not selling Kamara just to sell Kamara.
Here's the guys out producing Alvin Kamara on a game-by-game basis, like points per game. Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Cordero Patterson, Christian McCaffrey, Najee Harris, Ezekiel Elliott, Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones. I would trade for whichever one of those you think you can get something on top of for Kamara, and that's the only players I put on that list.
I'm worried about Aaron Jones.
Maybe Jonathan Taylor, but no one's doing that. No one's doing that. No one's doing that for Swift. No one's doing it for Harris or Christian McCaffrey. So you're kind of down to Austin Eckler, Ezekiel Elliott, maybe Aaron Jones plus a first. That's
I'm pretty sure Kamara is still older than Zeke, even though I think
Zeke came out a year
earlier. But
Zeke is not the receipt. Like I would.
He's not the receiving back. He's losing a little bit of work, and he has a lot of tread taken off those tires.
Which is why I think you could get him plus something.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd be good for that. Yeah.
As a contender, that's the only way I'd think about a trade. Who's going to get me that production, and I can get a little extra. Outside of that, no. Where are we? Traded for Kamara for David Montgomery, Jeudy, and a second. That seems like a good trade to me.
I'm good, but I mean, it sucks that Montgomery got hurt, but that's good value, otherwise. I like that.
Yeah, David Montgomery's underrated. He has not been underrated in that trade, and I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, a little bit if everyone's so high on Jeudy, but still. Tony quite literally has moves like Jagger. I don't think Jagger ever moved like that.
Maybe like 20-year-old Jagger tried to do that now.
20-year-old Jagger only moved like that when he fell down because he was drunk and stoned. I don't think he ever intentionally moved like that.
I mean, let's face it.
His athleticism is easily, Cordero Patterson unique. I would gladly admit that, having seen it a little bit. Well, not really, because I don't watch things, but I watch the NFL somewhat, and college never. So are we seeing Marquise Brown or holding? I would trade him up, which is what I said. Like I made a list of players I really like. I won't trade away unless, but if I can trade into that, upper tier, then I would. And by upper tier, I mean dynasty value. And there are some players who are always going to have more value than Marquise Brown because people are haters.
Yep.
But with the production, Calvin Ridley, if I'm not a contender, I would trade for Calvin Ridley with Marquise Brown. I would add to Marquise Brown to get Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, and that upper level of value player who I think is going to produce like that. Outside of that, I'm just living La Vida Loca with Marquise Brown. This is for real. He's a top 12 wide receiver. They all just be hating.
He's shown this before. 2 years ago, he was doing this. I mean, last year was really bad for the Ravens offense in total. 2 years ago, Marquise Brown was doing this. He had a over 20% market share, which again, in the first year, and again, in the first year of a full Lamar Jackson offense, that was like 4 passes a game. But still, percentages are percentages, that for a reason.
I would love.
What I think you need to do, if you want, the correct answer, I really do think, is to hold and let him score you points.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to trade him away, I think the good move to do would be wait for Rashad Bateman's first game. Let him get on the field and watch Marquise Brown still do what he does. Chances are it'll be because they're just working Bateman back in slowly, but that doesn't matter. You will tell someone, look, Bateman's back and Marquise Brown still did this, and you'll be able to trade him away a lot easier.
Yeah. And again, the players I'd be targeting is mostly...
Assuming only you wanted to trade him away. That's not something you should or have to do. I still think Brown's going to be scoring plenty of points.
Similar production players with higher dynasty value. And to be real clear, I think Marquise Brown has lower value because, one...
He's small.
Everyone's stupid. Yeah, his BMI. BMI trutherism has gotten a hold of the dynasty community, and despite being perpetually wrong,
I wonder who it was.
Sway.
What player did people so dirty that BMI started to matter?
It's never literally never mattered. I got in a very cordial. The guy was really nice to me this offseason. Like wonderful, smarter than me. mainstream industry fella who literally told me players are getting bigger, faster, smarter, and stronger, despite the fact none of those statements being like, and that's a guy who knows his stuff and does this professionally. I was like, that's not like they've gotten smaller and quicker and not as fast in the 40. Like that's literally the opposite, but it's gotten a hold of our ideas somehow. And everyone thinks that's what's happening, and it's not. But that's the only reason he's undervalued. That and Baltimore, which is a very different team this year. It's weird because it's not passing that much more, and it's not passing that much more often, but most of the expected points are going there. I think I want to break down its red zone roles. I think that's what might be a large part of it.
That'd be interesting.
Is it too early to push the Ridley panic button?
I'm not panicked.
Again, we just keep saying contender, not a contender, because everything's dependent on that. But no, I can't think of a situation where it's a good idea to trade Ridley away.
Yep.
Outside of getting Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb, Jamar Chase for them, maybe.
If you're going to get super flex league, if you're going to get top 3, 4, third-ish round startup value out of Ridley, like you should be getting, then go trade him away. That's fine. But if someone's trying to buy him low off of you, then you do not sell him low because he's awesome.
I would say I do understand some reasonable concern with Marquise Brown because there's less valuable volume being thrown his way than most of the guys producing like him. But that's just because that's how efficient the offense is. That's why I'm not concerned with it. They don't need to do more, and he's very good with what they do. And then you'll get games where he just drops those touchdowns, and everyone's convinced it's because.
Oh my god, that was so hurtful! Oh man,
because there's less volume. There's a razor sharp edge where you miss a catch, and suddenly you don't produce that week. That is a concern. That's still
dropping 3 touchdowns is going to hurt you no matter what team you're on.
But I also think the volume's going to slowly increase, especially as running backs keep getting hurt and Bateman comes onto the field, and they're
when your running backs are Lat Murray, Devonta Freeman, and some other 30-year-old someone I don't remember anymore.
It's just slightly more complicated than I made it sound, to be fair. So there is concerns there. I just think once I balance everything out, I'm definitely not concerned. Like legitimately, I think he's going to keep doing it. 14-team PPR, I am not competing. Me and you, Raymond. Me and you to the end. Me neither. Looking to trade with a contender. Looking to offer Barkley, Cooks, Diggs, Dobbins. What do you think of this deal? Barkley and Cooks for Diggs and Dobbins. I think you're giving up too much. Barkley's probably worth.
You're going to have to find someone who values Barkley the way Barkley should be valued, and especially coming off of the ankle roll, it's going to be a little tough. But in the real world, no, I think I'd be good with this if I'm not competing, I'd be fine trading Barkley and Cooks for Diggs and Dobbins. Honestly, don't go after Diggs if you're not competing. Diggs's value is probably at its ceiling, especially with him not even scoring that well right now, because Diggs is like 28 years old. And again, whether it matters or not in the real world, it matters to his dynasty value. So that is going to hurt him. So I'm all for going after Dobbins. I have traded for Dobbins a lot. I don't care. It's not the right move. I just love J.K. Dobbins. I'm fine trading for J.K. Dobbins on rebuilding teams, especially if you're at that point where you think next year is the year you'll be able to start contending. But man, like, try and age down from Diggs a bit. I mean, I know it just depends on what this dude has on his roster, so there's not much else you could do about it. But value-wise, I'm pretty fine with that trade.
Yeah, I agree, because if you delete Cooks from this trade and it's just Barkley for Diggs and Dobbins, it looks like a good trade to me. And Cooks doesn't matter that much. So yeah, I think Barkley for Diggs and Dobbins and he's throwing Cooks is fine.
But Cooks needs to be there to get that deal done, I think.
I think it's easier to trade for Diggs right now than it will be after his production comes back up. So I don't mind trading for him on a non-contender because he's going to keep producing. His value will, like Outhouse was saying, but I don't mind trading for points next year as well. It's fine. Where were we? Ridley Truther again. Hollywood packed on a couple pounds a healthy way, but still small enough to keep his speed. However, now he's got some strength to the bullied board away in the red zone 3-year break. Yeah, here's the thing. That's always going to be true. BMI can change if they put on weight, and if BMI is not trustable, if a player changes his weight, which our weights naturally change, especially when we're working out and being professional athlete. Like, it doesn't matter if that's the actual reason. It literally doesn't matter. You should just not pay attention to it for those reasons. Then, either way,
I mean, there was that year where Cooper did the same
Hey,
thing.
John.
Cooper.
We were talking
John
about
always
you earlier.
Yeah,
all
John
good
always
things.
shows up like right after we talked
all
about
good
him.
Things.
Except for me, my things were not all good. Like Amari Cooper did that one year where he was when he was still in the Raiders and he put on like that ridiculous muscle, and it got like that the first game of the season, he dragged 2 dudes into the end zone, and that was the only time it ever mattered again. Like it just putting on muscle as a wide receiver doesn't matter. Like, I'm sorry, it's whatever. Like there are techniques for smaller framed guys to get defensemen's hands off of them. I mean, it's just, maybe he wasn't good at that, so being a little thicker helps him get guys, off of him and to catch a ball. I don't know. It's I'm not
talking about, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not moving on more onto a wide receiver because he put weight on, like muscle on. I just
I realize I sound a little mad at you, Ridley Truther, and I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at BMI Truthers.
It's not you, it's him.
If you're paying attention to every player this much, you know how they're doing, you know how they're exercising. This is great. You don't need to know BMI, and you don't need to know, like, you're paying such close attention to these players, and you don't need more nuance. You have all the nuance. Don't let the little BMI number worry you about it. Yep. The thing is, most people are going to sort by BMI and then say likely, not likely, and that's just removing any nuance out the player. If a data point does that, then you just ignore it. Instead, just watching training camp and reading about players is fun. We like these guys. We love reading news. Like, you don't have to remove that from your process. Just keep that in and ignore the little BMI thing. It doesn't matter.
And just like, remember when height used to matter for quarterbacks? I mean, like, Russell Wilson fell to the 3rd because he's under 6 feet tall, and look what Russell Wilson does. I mean, that's for the GMs that aren't football guys, it doesn't matter as much as it used to. Like, I know John Elway will never take a quarterback that's under 6 feet tall because he's meathead John Elway, and he goes and takes Brock Osweiler or trades for him or whatever the hell he did. I don't remember. Something happened with Osweiler. I can't remember what direction it happened in. But yeah, it's one of those silly numbers that, again, like, I don't remember what made BMI happen. And it's just here and won't go away no matter how much it doesn't actually matter.
Here's the thing. It went away for a little while because everyone preached it forever. And then, the era of the small wide receivers smacked it in the face. And then it came back this year because Devontae Smith. And how's that working out? How is Robbie Anderson still good? Is Devontae Smith still good? Is Marcus Brown? Like, it's not like most players don't have a bigger BMI like that, so it looks like a better hit rate bucket. It's more about you're removing all the nuance of who those players are. And if you actually just look at or read as much as Ridley Truther did there about those players, you're going to have a much better understanding of what they can do with the shape that they're built in. So it's not a shortcut. In fact, it's a shortcut to a misunderstanding. And I don't know why we'd pay attention to it. Is McLaurin a top 10 dynasty inconsistent QB player? Yeah, he is for me. Top 10 dynasty wide receiver, he is for me. Yeah.
I got to be honest, man.
The fact he's doing it without
he's too low. I don't know how high McLaurin should be, but he's always too low. Yeah. Yes, he is quarterback proof. Like, maybe because Ohio State, maybe because he had a weird beginning with Dwayne Haskins, maybe because he wasn't drafted in the 1st round. But like, this dude's really good, and again, Tyler Heineke, man, like, and just such trash I've been throwing in the ball, and he is consistently awesome. I am all in on Terry McLaurin. All in.
This is something I wrote about this offseason because I was owning a mistake. I was low on Terry McLaurin, and I didn't think he produced enough in college, and I like noticing when I'm wrong. I've mentioned it. So I was pointing out that everyone thinks it's like, my hot take was Terry McLaurin finishes top 12 at the wide receiver position this year. And everyone was like, everyone has him there. And I was like, that's weird because he's never done it before. But most people were projecting him and ranking him there. But his value, and the reason I didn't know that before I started saying it was a hot take, didn't reach there. So I wrote about it in an article this season. It was like my 3rd year breakout article or something. Terry McLaurin is undervalued for a plethora of reasons that just get mixed into him not having as an exciting, his name isn't as exciting as he should be. And it is draft capital. And it is the fact he's a slightly older breakout. He broke out at 25 years old. Like Calvin Ridley, he's slightly older than the rest of his class.
Yeah.
And slightly lower drafted and from a lower conference. And the whole mix of it just means that a player we like and project and rank as well as, honestly, CeeDee Lamb this offseason is valued lower. And so he's really interesting he's really interesting dynasty question that way, because he's always undervalued for things that literally no one cares about. We think he's a top 12, but we won't pay or trade him away for top. It's weird. It's actually kind of a cool little thing, I think. Yeah, I agree. Maybe the context made it sound like I cared about BMI, but no, that's why I went back to it. I get what you're saying. Yeah, understand the player. Don't worry about a data point that literally doesn't predict anything. I think you're on the same page. So yeah, appreciate that. Also, by the way, I like the fact that John Bosch just constantly complaining there isn't enough content on Twitch. I go out of my way to include a Twitch abstract to the DLF YouTube channel. Like, we can't get on Twitch outside of the fact that I uploaded my own, so we could finally put it all on Twitch. And John Bosch is like, "Oh, I'm so excited." Hi. Like, thanks, John. Appreciate the
like, put an exclamation point or something.
No question. Not even
excited.
Sticking around for more than 2 minutes, because he's definitely not here still.
Oh yeah, no, he's gone.
Crazy stuff. All right, those are a bunch of questions. I really appreciate them. I did have things that I want to talk about, though. And forgot all about them. You put on here scared of Aaron Jones. Are you scared of Aaron Jones?
I'm scared of Aaron Jones. Look at his game log. He has one game of like 30, 40 points, and the rest of them are like 12.
Yeah.
The opportunity is still there. AJ Dillon scored a receiving touchdown, which just like broke my brain this week. What? No, wait, what? No, that number's wrong. Where's the dress coming out of the helmet? That's not right.
That's not a thing that happens.
I'm a little worried about Aaron Jones. I have he's on a lot of my competing teams because I've always been a very big fan of him. And he's not doing great. Like, he's not doing bad. Don't get me wrong. Like I said before, you need that dude that's going to score you 12, 18 points, especially at a running back. And especially if you build a lot of the teams the way I do, where especially in my leagues where you only have to start one running back. But I would like that ceiling in more than just one game this season. And I hit it was such a good one game because he scored like 4 touchdowns, I think it was, that he's bolstered in the scoring ranks where he's like running back 5 or 6, where he really probably, if he had a human-like game of just 25 points, he'd probably closer to be running back like 18. Like, it's such like a weird thing that isn't Aaron Jones like to me, that I'm legitimately like, I'm not worried to the point where I'm trading him away or anything, but I'm still a little worried about it.
It's a Green Bay Packers. It's a Green Bay Packers and Aaron Jones thing. Perpetually, he's been this amazing running back who occasionally they just don't give the ball to.
Don't give him the ball.
They're like, how about we try out that guy? Who? I don't know his name. Just anyone but Aaron Jones for at least the next 10 plays. And that happens occasionally. Like, it's a Green Bay Packers thing. I would say of the top 12 in expected points, like, he is the one that's more likely to provide the floor's there. He's got 14 expected points per game over most of the last 5 weeks. But
he's absolutely safe. Yeah.
And he is one of those players that you've just mentioned can go off at like 30, 40 points because he's amazing. But occasionally the Packers would be like, let's just try something. Let's try something. And they just won't play him. So yeah, that's a concern. But I mean, unless I'm trading my way into this player that's as good with that production that doesn't have the Green Bay Packers problem.
Exactly.
I'm not trading. But yeah, he's scary, but you kind of got to play him each week and just hope he can overcome his own team.
Yes.
Is Cordero Patterson making everyone else in Atlanta? This is something that's bugging me, underproductive. Because if you look at the depth chart, like, everyone's producing their volume. Like Calvin Ridley, Mike Davis, my God, he should be a top 12 running back right now. Calvin Ridley should be a top 8 wide receiver, and he's not. And everyone's got these negative marks except for Cordero Patterson. Like, he's just stealing all the touchdowns, right?
He's stealing everything because he's an easy dump off on a team with a older quarterback whose arm's dying a little bit and a really bad offensive line. So why not give it to the dude who is 3 feet away from you and is really good in the open field?
That's what I mean, though. They're giving it plenty to those other players. That's why they're underperforming good volume. But I think Cordell Patterson is going to keep doing things. His volume's good.
Yes.
He should
Yes.
keep scoring. Like, that's why I would keep him on a contending roster. It's
100%.
just why also, despite getting 10 to 12 targets, was Calvin Ridley not doing better? And Mike Davis is getting plenty of touches. He's just not really doing it. And before you say it's Mike Davis being bad, I really don't think so. I think it's because in the red zone, Cordell Patterson is getting the ball. And I think it's the same with Ridley. And so
it is Ridley.
I don't know what to do with that. Like, I just hunt the volume, and so I'm like every week, all right, let's
you just gotta wait for it to write itself, and it absolutely will at some point write itself.
It should write itself, but if the team keeps being this bad, where they have to keep relying on Patterson for those touchdown touches, basically, as well
sooner or later, you have to hope to have faith in defensive coordinators realizing maybe we should guard that guy. In which case, it should shift back over to Ridley getting touchdowns.
And again, everyone else is already getting good volume. That's not the problem. He's got his own targets and his own rush attempts.
But he also has he has the easier targets. I mean, that's why he's doing more with them.
And I think, like I said, I think it does bounce back, but it's getting really hard to trust it. I just those are the guys I'm scared of. Like, they should bounce back. It's getting painful to wait.
He will bounce back.
Also, I don't know what a personal issue is, so I hope Calvin Ridley's okay, but I don't know how to weight that into will he start again. And obviously, it sounds like something that's more important than football or fantasy football, but for roster, like, I don't know when I can start him again. Like, the minute he comes back, I expect.
The second he's playing, I'm playing him.
The minute he's back, right?
Yeah. I mean, I hope everything's okay. I mean, like, that's
obviously,
like the day before going to London, it's all of a sudden Ridley's not traveling. Like, something big must have happened in this man's life. So I really do hope everything's okay.
Like, he's a person. I hope he's okay. That's broader point. Like, that's more important. And I also wanted to mention TJ Hawkinson's fall off, because I got asked about it. I don't think he's gone anywhere. I think he's had 2 difficult matchups, and the team sucks. I mean, Amon-Ra is working in a little bit more, but I don't think that's the product of it. I just think anytime there's a fairly decent passing defense, this team can't help him out. He's still getting the volume, in other words.
They've also, teams have realized, oh, crap, there's only one person that's going to catch the ball, and it's TJ Hawkinson. Let's put 3 dudes on him. Three dudes on Hawkinson, 3 dudes on the running back, and everyone else just sort of sit. That's fine.
Yeah,
no one else.
And which is why I think Amon-Ra is starting to work in. Like, it's not taking, to be clear, he's not taking Hawkinson's role. I think it might help him out, even in more tough matchups going forward. So, like, don't panic overly on Hawkinson. But, I mean, this team kind of sucks. So it
is a very big problem. That team sucking is a very big deal.
And I think you added Emmanuel Sanders to the consider target. Like, if you're a contender, players you might consider going out and get. I think that's a good name. He's wide receiver 3,
and he's super. And he has the ability for spike games. He catches 2 touchdowns in a game, and you can get him for a third. I mean, it's like we said before. Depth is important to win a league. Very rarely do you win with just the 10 dudes you need to start, because bye weeks happen, injuries happen. You need to be ready for all of that. So sending a third, sending a second for Patterson and a third, maybe, if that's what you have to do. Like, I don't hate it. Not Patterson, Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, I'm not lying, just in case anyone thinks I would lie about such a thing. My team sucked this year. My teams officially suck for a variety of reasons.
One league with Peter, and I can confirm his team sucks.
Yeah,
not as bad as mine though. In TA7 at least.
So I'm very much trying to figure out, what do I do when so early? Like, I'm not just it. And you can either push to trade some of those contender targets. You can try and get them and make a run. And I've done that before. But this year I'm more interested in, what do I do? Because everyone's got this is how you build. And I don't. I normally just trade for touches and points going forward. So, like, what do I do? And one of the things I've been doing is I'm not trading for 23 picks, 2023, because I tend to I've picked a lot of them up. They were easy to trade for a few months ago, apparently, because most of the teams I look at that suck, I've got a like at least 2023 picks. I'm starting to send offers out on 22nd picks, 22 picks. This is going to confuse the shit out of me. Because I think the noise of this draft class being bad is already starting to filter in. And right now, contending teams should be willing to give away their first coming up. So that's kind of a thing I've been starting to build into trades. I'm really confused about running backs, though. I think their value is coming down this offseason, and which makes me feel there should be something I can do. But older running backs are producing, so contenders don't want to trade them, so that's not a move. So I'm mostly
that's something you're gonna have to wait till after the season to do.
Continuing to stick with the process. I'm buying as younger wide receivers as I can get who's done something. Like at this point, I'm scared about Elijah Moore. I'm not buying him on failing teams because he's not doing enough this year. Rondell Moore,
you still have to pay the two Moores that you do bring up. Like you still have to pay at least what they were drafted for now, and that's not the point. Especially now where we've seen Rondell is a little bit tougher because he had that one game, but Elijah, who's done absolutely nothing, so like his value probably should be a little lower than it was because I don't know why it got spiked up so high, especially being on the Jets. But yeah, I'm not going after either of them. Like if anything, like you should be doing. Let me hold on. What I did with Kadarius Tony, find those guys that, you find those guys with the ceilings that honestly, like I never really thought I would want to keep Kadarius Tony on my teams. I was hoping he would have a crazy game and I'd be able to move him. But now I see him and I kind of like the way he plays, so I'm going to hold on to him. Like that's my move.
Players I'm willing to trade away, even if I'm losing. I'm like, if I can get out now for
and absolutely, that's probably the right thing to do. But that's also why you get them. Like I had a lot of Devonta Smith, a lot of Kadarius Tony, a lot of Jalen Reagor because I figured Smith would pop off and I could sell Smith and be happy having Reagor on my team. But I just haven't tried to move him because I do like him more now. But like that's what I like to do. I like to find those guys that are young and that are explosive and can have those big games where you'll be able to move them, because when you're really, really rebuilding, like when your team's really bad, you should be willing to move everything because you may have to move everything to try and build up the capital to make your team better.
I'm trying. Moon, I think this is a start-sit question. Mooney or Ruggs, I guess, as a flyer this week. I have...
I think just mean in general. That's how I read it, because this is a freaking Dynasty show.
Oh, right? If it's just Dynasty, Donald Mooney every time. This week... I agree. This week I would start Donald Mooney over Henry Ruggs as well. So, yeah. That's what my flex start-sit regs, just in case I have protections. I got to use them every now and again, or it's just
whenever you can sound like you're smart because you did stuff, you go for it, man. I don't do stuff, so
no, that's the thing. You spend hours on them, and then you put them up and you make them pretty, and then no one looks at them. They just ask you, and then like there's relatively little purpose to me doing. I might quit. I don't know, but yeah, it's Mooney all the way for me. Like just fade the draft capital. And Ruggs is being better. Ruggs is being better than people who thought he would faceplant. I never thought he'd faceplant.
You literally changed the definition of what was it? Oh, what word did you change? Like success or hit or something like that. Like you changed the definition of a word to put Ruggs out of it.
Perfect. But I was the only guy. He was the Tony of his class, and I literally wrote up the positive data argument for him, proving that he'd been a playmaker, done more for that team than the team could probably expect. He didn't hit the marks and the things we usually look for, but he was clearly good in college. He was just a little unusual. He's a big player. Hang on, I clicked off something. Yeah. Need help. Half-point PPR Dynasty went to the ship last 2 seasons. It's just another brag. But I'm about 1-4 start. Should I start to rebuild? It really depends how your team looks. And sneaky trick that also John Bush taught me. Go to league power ranks.
Assuming you're on MFL, you go reports, standings, power ranks.
And you look at the all play. If you're winning in all play or doing better in all play than that record currently shows, it matters.
Yep.
If you are a legitimately terrible 1-4 team, like my team, then yeah,
Yeah, or like if you have McCaffrey and other players that are getting injured, or like
Yeah.
Hopkins who just felt like taking off for 2 games. I mean, it's very
Ridley.
situational. It's not something we could
Oh,
say,
wait,
oh,
wait,
you're
wait,
one of
wait.
4 good.
He
Oh, he
saw
says
us
his
coming.
team.
He says his team. And what
And
did he say? Half point dynasty. Is this 1 or 2 QBs? That's the only thing I would need to know. Murray Burrow. I mean, stacked.
yeah,
Aaron Jones, Elijah Mitchell is fine. Connor. Okay, you're weak at running back too, but Latavius, it's fine. I don't think this is a 1 and 4 team. Logan Thomas.
No,
Right?
it's not. If it is, yeah, man, this is a little rough just because you have a lot of guys that are underperforming at this point. Like
Yeah.
Ridley's not doing great. Sutton is being very wavy. Boyd lost a little bit of value with Chase showing up. Julio is, done nothing except for half a game.
He was fine when
And
he was playing.
Logan Thomas being on IR. So I mean, like, I wouldn't blow this up, like, but I got to be honest. Like we've been saying it this entire time, I'd be fine selling DK Metcalf because you could sell him to literally any team. You could sell it to a competing team, you could sell him to a rebuilding team, and you can get a lot for him.
If you're not getting a lot, then that league sucks. And also,
Then don't do it. Yeah, and like we said, now if you do want to take a step back from Aaron Jones and get another guy who is producing, like
Mhm.
move around a little bit. Like if Aaron Jones is absolutely right now still worth more than David Montgomery. Then again, it sucks that he's hurt. But if you wanted to do David Montgomery and a wide receiver 3 that you will still be able to plug into your starting lineup for Aaron Jones, like I like that kind of move because Montgomery is younger. Montgomery's still he's very good, isn't like he's good enough that he's not going to lose his job, and he's good enough that when that offense starts to run as good as it should with a mobile quarterback, he will be able to take advantage of it.
That's a question. Yeah, everything I has just said, a lot of it was exactly what I was going to say, especially DK Metcalf. I would add you can go either way you want with this team. Like I said, on
Yes.
my teams, normally I don't blow things up, and this year I'm like, I haven't been a while,
It's
so
so much fun.
it's more fun for me to try to just change everything. You could go that way with this team. You have so many good players on this roster, from Murray, Burrow, Aaron Jones, DK Metcalf, Ridley. Like you could easily get value and just flip the whole damn thing over if you wanted to. Flip the apple
Yeah.
cart. If that doesn't sound like fun to you, you also have definite path to, like, your record doesn't seem to reflect your team.
Yeah.
I think you could make moves here to compete this year. So what's
You
more
can
fun
make,
for you?
yes, you could definitely make small moves, still make the playoffs, and just your things might click at the right time, and you could still win this league. I mean,
Like,
you don't at all have a bad team.
I think Ridley's more of a long-term play, so you could trade him as well if you wanted to for Kadarius
Again,
Patterson plus a
assuming,
lot.
yes, plus a
You're
lot.
gonna
Like
have to
assuming
trade,
you can get the real value for Ridley,
yeah,
then
for
I'd
a
be
lot.
fine trading him away, especially if you're getting one of those dudes we've been talking about before that
Yep.
is crazy producing this year, plus someone that is still good with dynasty value, not just fantasy value.
Contending targets, if I'm trying to win and your team just it doesn't look great. Cameron Ridley's on that. So Stephon Diggs, like we mentioned, both of those guys should bounce up in production.
You talked about
Um,
Darrell Henderson before. I'm a big fan of getting him on teams because no one is still that
mhm.
into him, but when he's healthy, he's getting workhorse numbers. So
Yep.
whether he produces with them, I mean, it depends on the matchup. He's a little matchup dependent, but still, that's what you need on your team. The dude
Go
that's just going to get touches.
Go check out if the Darren Waller team is losing like you are, because he's been a little disappointing lately, and there's no reason to not think he's going to start producing again this
Especially
year.
for the next few games. The next few
And
games with a new coach, like they're going to be like, all right, let's go back to what worked. Give it to Waller. Give it to Waller. Give it to Waller. Give
and
it to
he's
Waller.
good for years. That's a way you're looking for points, but like he's still valued this way next year. Like
Yes.
that's trading for now, and you could go a lot of ways with it. It depends what's more fun. And those are the types of players I'd be targeting if I want to trade back in this season, because you have to go hard. At 1 of 4, you've got to win the next 5 games. So,
Yeah, you're going to win.
Devontae Smith is an all buy. I would buy him on any team anywhere, and I think he mainly because I think the value is just about right for that. And I think he'll bounce back up soon too. Terry McLaurin should bounce back from next week. Chris Godwin as well. So I will be looking for those players that you expect immediately more production, that still have value long term, and again immediately start changing your week to week. That to me sounds like a harder road, and it really depends which sounds more fun to you. That I didn't feel like doing that this year, which is why I've just gone, I'm going to flip the apple cart of it. I don't want to be.
It also depends on your league. If your league is active enough, you'll be able to turn this into a competing team very easily, or you'll be able to get a whole lot of picks really easily. Yeah, it really is very league dependent on how active it is. If it's not active, you should turn this. You should not rebuild this team if it is not an active league. You should be able to make 1 or 2 trades to put you as a better contender, as opposed to getting a couple of these guys off your team to be able to rebuild better.
Here's a question. If that's the situation he's in, assuming it's not an active lead, he needs to make 1 or 2 trades and really go in for winning the next 5 games. My first thought is honestly DK Metcalf for Waller plus.
I could do that.
That would be one of the first things I'd try to do.
I would throw in Logan Thomas.
Because you need a tight end.
He's had no ceiling this year. So, because I mean, he's not missing the season. You know, he just has a hamstring injury, so they put him on IR. Because apparently IR is only 3 weeks now, which apparently was a thing last year that I just legit had no idea. But yeah, if you can get someone like Waller, you know, and for DK, you're getting another good player on top of Waller. So yeah. That is definitely a move that will be good for you.
And I'd be sneaky with it, depending on what his RBs are like. Look to improve your running back too. Or you could go, the second one I consider is, like you said, you're scared of Aaron Jones. You could probably make something work. He's so much a this year player, though. I don't know. You could get the right.
But
trade.
I think if you took 2 of these running backs, like if you went Aaron Jones and Elijah Mitchell, because there are people that with stars in their eyes when they see Elijah Mitchell, and if you can get one of those guys above Aaron Jones for that, like I keep going to say Najee Harris because he's the only running back I really like going to buy right now. But I don't know if that gets it done anyway. But if you can get one of those better guys for Aaron Jones and Elijah Mitchell, I'm absolutely fine with that. I hate having depth on my team because I hate making lineup decisions because I'm bad at them. But you know, I'm absolutely fine throwing 2 for 1s, especially when you need points, because depth doesn't help too much when you need to win 5 games in a row, like he's saying. So worry about depth a little later.
Which brings me to the next thing I'd think about trying, which is Sutton. And is the Christian McCaffrey owner winning?
Oh, yes. That's a very good one.
Like I would start with, you're going to have to add, but Sutton plus and try and go steal Christian McCaffrey, because when he comes back, he should be this week, actually, the running back 1. And that's a season.
And
change.
if you
him like and Aaron Jones, I think you're, that.
And like, if you're like this guy and you believe in Michael Thomas, like go check that out. See if you can get him, because if he does hit, like that's somebody you're going to get cheap and he's going to way outproduce the trade value for him.
It could not work, and you've given up Sutton. But again, I wouldn't be too worried about that.
I love Sutton. Sutton, especially with Teddy Bridgewater as quarterback, won't consistently be good.
So it depends what rosters these players are on, but those are the first 3 trades I'd look in my league. Where are these players? What
you have a lot of options because you have a very steady team with a lot of very good players. So you can, assuming you have an active league, you could go either way with this.
Or, join me on Flip the Apple Card over. It feels fun just to go.
Or you know what? Just quit. Just quit. Rage quit. Say, like, start cursing off your commissioner and just like, unlink team.
Whatever's more fun. But yeah, those are the 2 ways I go, depending on which direction you want to take it. And Damien, how you doing, buddy? Redraft, would you drop Ayuk for Amon-Ra? No. But I would try and add Amon-Ra, so yes. I guess that's a little unfair.
Well, not really, because, there's value in holding on to a guy. And Ayuk has that ceiling in a team where now Kittle's on IR and Debo has missed a couple of games. And those 2 guys missing, there's no one else to throw the ball to besides Ayuk. So, I mean, that's what's going to happen. I mean, Trent Sherfield isn't going to be the wide receiver 1 on the team, no matter how much he works with Larry Fitzgerald. Yeah, so
yeah, I think
hopefully you have someone better to drop. But, I mean...
The only way you start Ayuk is if it's a desperation flex play, unless something drastically changes. But here's the thing: Ayuk as a flex play can score you 20 points easy, like in a single week. And if something does change, like Mr. Rush Fisher is pointing out, that could be much more upside than Amon-Ra could ever offer you.
I mean, unless you're in like full PPR and like half point per first down or something ridiculous, like there, Amon-Ra St. Brown might be more valuable than normal. But if it's in a regular PPR, or hell, if it's in a standard league, then I'd keep Ayuk over Amon-Ra.
Having said that, I would try and find somewhere to stick Amon-Ra, because he's doing what we hoped he would over the last 2 games, but no one's really mentioning it, which is a really great chance
I'm fine with
stash
that. Yes.
Donald Mooney early. Think of him as that. I mean, I don't know he's going to do it, but he could very easily work out to be that player. And right now, no one's really paying attention to it, it feels like to me. So I definitely try and find a way to add him.
Mm-hmm.
Are you buying him in Dynasty? I'm Ra in the way that I just mentioned. Like, I'm not trading for him much. Because in Dynasty, he's normally on a roster.
I mean,
the minute you send an offer, they're going to go look and go, oh, look, he's getting 14 points a game. And then the mystery's gone.
Yeah, I mean, he was drafted in like the late second, early third, which means you're going to have to give up at least a future second plus a little bit to get him.
Yeah.
So, like, he's the kind of dude where if I find a trade that's sort of close, I'm like, yeah, just throw it on Ram. We'll call it a day.
If I was able to snag him in my rookie draft, though, I'm excited. That's the way it tends to work in my Dynasty leagues. Either he's rostered or I'm rostering him. So, and trading for him at this point he's probably worth too much because he's had two great games.
Yeah, it's a little too tough to get him right now.
If he's on a waiver wire in Dynasty, then that league also sucks. And go at him as just every bit of fab you got. Yeah. Full PPR 1 QB Dynasty. Would you guys trade away James Robinson and Calvin Ridley and a 2022 early second?
No.
I think Russ is against it.
No.
Want to words that or just good?
Nope.
Cool.
James Robinson scoring just as good as Dalvin Cook, except he's not getting hurt. Calvin Ridley can very easily come back and be a top 5 wide receiver right now. And an early second is still just a very good trade piece. For Dalvin Cook, who, man, his value can't go up. I mean, let's call that what it is. I mean, James Robinson, it's wrong to think he's a 1-year guy just because Travis Etienne got hurt. Especially with the way he's playing again now, he is just reaffirming the fact that he's a good running back. So he will find a way into this offense. I mean, I also will have that Calvin Ridley bias, whether it's real, warranted or not right now, that the bias is real, whether it's warranted right now or not, it doesn't matter. The value is just way, way, way too much right now. And the production is way too much on the Robinson, Ridley, and the pick side for me to want to do that for one running back.
Yeah, you'll never see me play James Robinson this dirty. No. Dalvin Cook's could easily be the best producer for a single season on this trade, and I don't care. No, it's just...
But you're also sacrificing to start another starting spot by giving up Robinson and Ridley.
Yeah, you're giving up two. James Robinson is going to produce in this elite category this year. Calvin Ridley is in that elite tier at a different position, and you're also throwing in a second. Like, it's just no. Not for me. My current roster: Zeke, Monty, James Robinson, I'm guessing. Chris Carson, Ridley, Godwin, Keenan Allen, Jacoby.
You cannot afford to give that up for Zeke. No, I said Zeke because he has Zeke for.
You say Cook. Yeah. I love you for rostering Tim Patrick. You clearly know what you're doing. You can make it your own mind, but those are our opinions. Anyone rostering Tim Patrick knows what they're doing. Sorry if this player has already been discussed, just joining, no problem. But how are you valuing Michael Pittman? I actually did mention him earlier that he might be an L I need to take. To be fair, I took the outs on him because it was more fun. I think that was literally the conversation I had with Zach Reed because his college production is fine. He's literally on the average line each year. He's fine. Yeah. He's fine. And but I wanted to fight with Zach Reed. Having said that, he's doing really well this year. I think he's closer to T. Higgins than most people would be willing to admit. And I would want Higgins more, but I probably think Pittman should be valued around there.
No, I mean, they were drafted right next to each other in their rookie draft. And
exactly.
And the thing is, Higgins did it right away, and Pittman took a year because that offense was terrible last year. I mean, I guess that's also fair. But I mean, Pittman saw the drop in value, which will make it harder for his value to get back up to where Higgins especially went up to. But absolutely, they should be thought about in the same breath, which hurts me a little bit because I love me some T. Higgins. But
I love Higgins.
Yeah, I'm all in on Pittman.
I really like the thing you just said, and I don't want to miss it. You said he will always be, that stink will stay with him. Pittman will be valued under Higgins, even though it is unfair. And that's, I think that's something I miss for the longest time. Even if they continue to produce this way, like Higgins will always be thought of as more.
Yep.
So Pittman's always a buy, but you're never going to get him valued more, which sucks. But I think that's really important.
Take the points.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. He's the points player. Higgins is a value player. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
No, that's it. I mean, what wide receivers do you value similarly to him at this point? I mean, we just threw one out there. I mean,
Higgins. Yeah.
in a startup draft right now, if you were to do a
Sutton.
startup dynasty right now, super flex, because that's all I really know. Like, if you grabbed Pittman in like the 5th or 6th, I think you're in a great spot, and that's around where you will find players like that Higgins round. These guys with, if they were your wide receiver 3, you'll feel great about it, and they will probably produce better than that, if not this year, next year for sure. So I mean, that's really where I am. Like, this is where you will find players like Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton also, whether they have shown it or whether you believe it or not. Those are guys I also put together with that kind of value, even though Judy's hype is so high that he's probably trade valued higher than Pittman.
And I think that will continue. I think that's a really smart point.
But I do think, at least production-wise and value-wise, they should be right next to each other. I also do believe Pittman can be... if Indy can get their crap together and Carson Wentz can play even close to MVP level Carson Wentz, like, I'm not saying he needs to be the league MVP, but just go back to being good and not rolling both ankles every other game, Pittman could be the dude there. And that could be a very good offense, because they also have a very good running game. So I do believe Pittman has maybe not not the wide receiver 1 upside, but I still do think he has very good upside.
I don't see that height, but I also don't see it for Higgins or Jeudy, and they're the players I have in this category, who I think both are overvalued for Pittman. So again, if you're looking to trade him, like, who would you compare him to? The reason he came up earlier is I said someone offered me Miles Sanders for T. Higgins, and I insta rejected it. I think you could get Pittman for Emmanuel Sanders. That's who I said, Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders?
Emmanuel Sanders is the wide receiver. Miles Sanders is the guy you got offered for T. Higgins.
What year is this? No, you're right.
Is it bad? I literally just checked.
I'm just having a brain moment. Sorry. Yeah, I rejected Miles Sanders for T. Higgins. I think could get Pittman for.
If I could trade Miles Sanders and get Michael Pittman, I will do that every single time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if my team is competing or rebuilding.
It would be closer. Outside of that, just pretend you're trading for one of those other guys. What would you give for them? And you're definitely going to get him.
I agree.
And you probably should.
Yes. I am all aboard that train.
Don't tell Zach Reed I said that.
You can tell him I said it.
Inactive league. Hard to find trades. Contender with Dak, JT, Barkley, Jacobs, Harris.
Wow. That's a running back room. Keenan, Chase, Galladay, Tony, Mooney.
I mean,
are you just bragging? Is that all this is? Is there another? Is there a question?
This is just another flex. Contender. Hard to find trade. I don't think you need trades, do you? Like, you're good.
Feel like
you might need another running back.
Help? No, I don't think he needs another running back.
I mean,
if you have to start 2, you start JT and JT and Harris, and feel fine about it.
Oh, he's got JT. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Well, he says next, I feel like I need wide receiver flex help.
You definitely don't need wide receiver help.
You're fine, man.
You can trade Kenny Golladay away any moment you want for anything you want.
If anything, you need a tight end that's playing right now.
But
because you have Kittle and Thomas.
I wouldn't be trading small wide receivers. I mean,
if you have someone in your league, that still values George Kittle like George Kittle, I would trade him away for any other tight end you can get.
And if you find a non-contending team without as a non-contender, I would trade for Kittle right now. So that's possible. If they have a decent tight end, and go target the Warner owner or something if they're not competing. But I wouldn't say wide receiver is what you need to focus on. Like, Keenan's gonna bounce back. I really believe that.
He's doing fine.
Chase is amazing. As a rookie, just roll him out.
Tony's hitting right now. Galladay went. Man, health is getting more of a problem with Galladay than I'd like. But a game and a half before he got hurt, he started doing really well, and him and Tony complement each other pretty well. Yeah. So I think they could be on the field at the same time and both do well. So we both liked Mooney, we both like Bateman. So you're overthinking it. If you want to go make the move, more power to you. I mean, I always say more trades, the better.
As a
But
contender with a good roster, really your thought process should be who is more likely to score me 20 points in a week. And that's who you go hunt. And wide receivers for that, you've got pretty good wide receivers that could give you that in a week. And also, so yeah, just go out and hunt those at tight end, hunt those at maybe running back. But like you said, yeah, running backs are pretty good.
His running back's better than any of my running back rooms will ever look like. So
yeah, we suck.
I just see running backs. I can't see what that's supposed to be.
It's a little hat tip gif that I've got on my Twitch feed. It's
that's
John Bosch trolling us again.
Yeah, the hat. Okay, yeah, I can see it now.
Yeah, I just miniaturized it. And probably get copyright striked for that at some point. How do you like team for next season? Herbert, Darnold, Eckler, David Montgomery, Fournette, Hines, Madison, Jeff Wilson, Ronald Jones, Juju, Higgins, Landry, Jeudy, trade Tyree Marshall, whoever that is, Fuller, Kelsey. I like it. I think you need to be upgrading your wide receivers. I like you have wide receivers, but that's if you're looking at next year, you need to be beefing them up and sending those to contending teams. Same with the running backs. Like you don't.
Yeah, I mean, with this team, you have good name wide receivers, but no one that's really scoring enough points for you to be contending right now. So if you are looking to next year, I'd be trading away. I mean, Fournette's doing a lot better than people
Fournette's great. Like this isn't a
I'm going to put myself there also. I did not realize how well Fournette was doing. So if you could move Fournette and one of those wide receivers to beef up a wide receiver, like throw Fournette and man, I like Juju so much. But like if you could throw Fournette and Terrace Marshall,
keep Juju. There's no point in trading him if you're looking till next year.
If you could trade Fournette and Terrace Marshall for someone, Michael Pittman, just go for Michael Pittman, sure. Like I would do that. Someone who is young and is doing well, because you don't want to just set yourself up for just next year. You want to keep going. Fournette's probably not going to help you next year, man. The problem is you have Eckler, whose value is never going to get higher, and it's not high as it should be anyway. David Montgomery is a nice hold because he, again, will probably always outproduce his dynasty value. Madison is like apparently the key handcuff these days. Jeff Wilson, you could drop. Ronald Jones, you could drop. I love me Juju. I love me Higgins.
He doesn't
Landry.
have Henry.
What did I say?
I was going to say, if he had Henry, you'd be competing this year.
Forget Jeff Wilson. Forget Ronald Jones. I love me Juju. I love me Higgins. Landry. He will always score points. He'll never have any trade value ever again. Yeah. I'm fine holding on to Jeudy. Terrace Marshall. Your team's not good at. Your team's not good enough to hold on to hope. No, hold on's the wrong word because he just got into the league. I would rather trade for someone like Pittman that we've seen do it already. I mean, I'm absolutely fine if Terrace Marshall hits. You won't have to pay that much more to go get him again.
Yeah, he's missing the random arbitrary thresholds for a good rookie season. It doesn't mean he's going to be bad. It means I think his dynasty value might decrease. And if you're on a non-contender, then that's a guy I would be happy to flip.
And you can move, like, honestly, Kelsey will still be great next year. But, man, you can sell him to a contender for a lot.
I think Kelsey and Eckler, like you say, are probably worth more on your roster even for next year. But if you can get the good trades from him, that would be fine. Outside of that, you're just trading your running backs, man. Juju's a hold, not worth trading. Higgins,
he'll be on a new team next year. Yes, absolutely hold Juju. His value.
Judy's value is really interesting right now. Depending on who's in your league, you might find someone willing to shell out for him. So maybe I'd chop him around. Outside of that, those running backs need to go.
Yeah. Except for Montgomery. I'd hold Montgomery.
Like Madison could get you draft capital right now. And it's not that he's not good and he won't be decent next year as well. It's just you can probably get more from him right now.
If Dalvin Cook were to retire right now, next year, they aren't just going to ride Alexander Madison.
I think contending teams will be interested in him this year, right now more than ever, though, because could get injured again, or he could be slow.
100%. You're absolutely right.
Right now is a good time to.
Yeah, like that's just my way of saying, get the value while you can. because right now he's not just a theoretical handcuff. We've seen him put up 20-something points.
Yeah, I'm not used to or comfortable with people saying things that I agree with. That's my problem. Sorry. Cater Fan 15, two-parter. Oh, right. Sorry. I'm terrible at reading as well, apparently. Trying to get a boost to my team in redraft. Would you rather go after an RB, Hunt, Patterson, Jacobs? And at wide receiver, would you rather go for Woods, Lockett, Mike Williams, Deebo Samuels?
All right. My order for all of these guys put together: Mike Williams, Deebo, Patterson. No, Mike Williams, Patterson, Deebo, Hunt, Woods. No, Lockett, Woods, Jacobs.
I'd put Hunt at the top of the list, and then I'd flip Deebo and Mike Williams. Yeah, it'd be
I
Hunt.
mean, I love me Mike Williams. It's just that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah, that's fine. They're pretty close. It's Hunt,
And
Deebo,
I mean, like, the
Williams,
thing is, it all comes
then
down
Josh
to
Jacobs. It's fine.
What you have, because I mean, well, first of all, trades in redraft are insanely hard, which is why I got away from it. But
that's fair.
It's all about what you have to send away, right? Like, if you don't have a lot to give up on your team, then just go get you some Cordarrelle Patterson. Like, even though it's redraft, even though next year doesn't matter, it doesn't matter that he's like 38 years old, even though I think he's just 30, because it's still just this year. You're still going to find people that won't believe he can keep doing this. And there is zero reason he can't keep doing this for the rest of the year.
For this year, yeah.
Like, whether the team changes or does whatever next year, that doesn't matter. All that matters is he's doing it now, and there's no reason for that to change.
I think how well he's producing might be slightly underrated even in redraft, because he's a second running back and they don't normally do it. That's why I put him at the top of my list. We both just listed it, or we could write it out, and I think it would still be less helpful. Here's how I'm making my list. With running back for redraft, like I'm trying to win, you're searching 16 points per game or more. Hunt's easily on that list. Jacobs could be. And at wide receiver, you're searching for 20 points per game or more. So however you would rank them that way. So running backs get a slight edge. You don't need as much in points per game, but wide receivers still have a lot of value on a week-to-week basis. So that's the way I was making my list. Who do I think at running back scores 18? Hunt. Who do I think at wide receiver could score me 20? That's Deebo, then Williams. Then I flip back to Jacobs because I think he can easily get over 18 if he bounced back a little bit. That's the way I want to bat it.
They need to throw him the ball. I hope this new coach throws him the ball.
That'd be great.
At least I'm calling this last question because I'm falling asleep.
Oh, okay. In week 7, I've got both my starting running back and Keenan Allen on bye week. Well, that sucks. My opponent is a rebuild team. Is it worth to trade for startable players in Dynasty to secure a win? Depends how your league works, probably. But if not, I'd start Gio and
Chris Carson is a startable player, so this is a invalid question.
Didn't Chris Carson get hurt? Is he
he missed last game. I don't know what his prognosis is for week 7 by now, but
if he's going to play, just start Chris Carson.
Yeah, and Gio has a touchdown upside every single game just because of Tom Brady. No, honestly, especially against the rebuilding team, I'll just hope on the rest of my strength of my team being good and the other team hopefully sucking. I wouldn't go out of my way. I wouldn't change my team. If you can sell a young dude who is like a fingers crossed he might work out for someone who you know is going to be a good start. But the thing is, it's funny. It's like, of course, I'm taking into this long conversation when I said it's the last question. It's the argument of having trade deadlines. Trading in the playoffs, everyone is terrified about because you could just go buy a championship. How often are we right? That's the question. How often do we buy the right person for the right week? Which is why you just start who you have.
That's what I was going to say.
You start who you have because best case scenario, which is a very small percentage, I'm not going to make up a number because I don't have a real number. You're going to trade for a guy and he does well. More than likely, you're going to trade for a guy that does pretty similarly to whatever the hell you traded away or what you would have put in your lineup anyway. So don't overthink it. Go ahead. No, because I was just gonna say, if you have Gio and Carson and Carson's playing, you start them and move on and just trust the rest of your team. Like, give them a nice pep talk before the game starts.
I got to do a better job at figuring out where your pauses are, because I keep thinking that there's a window and there's not, and it sounds like I'm interrupting you constantly, so I apologize. And what I was going to say is exactly that. You can try and secure a win by a trade and then actually make your team worse this week. I would focus. I don't care who I'm facing this week. It's always worth securing a win. But any trade I make is because it's improving my chances of winning any particular matchup. Don't just trade for this particular matchup.
Yeah,
So
you have to worry about winning the year, not about winning the week.
And you can follow the same process for both, I guess. But yeah, that's it. Like, if you can trade for a better running back too, like, just do that. It's not about
trade
this
one of the
week.
dudes that might be on one of the dudes that have a bye in week 7. Trade one of them if you can upgrade them in general.
Outside of that, if you can't find a guy you would prefer to start anyway, then just start Chris Carson. If he plays, he didn't practice Wednesday, and if not, Gio's fine. He can catch a touchdown any week.
Well, we're only on week 6, right? So I mean, he's got a week to figure this out anyway.
Oh yeah. I miss that. All right, Dynasty Outhouse called it. No more questions.
I am falling asleep sitting here. So yeah,
it is really late. Sorry. We got lots of questions this week.
Yeah, man, those questions come in. I'm not going to stop this, but they've been slowing down, and I'm sleepy.
Yeah, this was a week for it too, because I was really underprepared on notes to things to talk about. I think we got.
I am never short of things to talk about, so don't worry about it.
So, once again, thanks to Dynasty Outhouse for joining us to making this somewhat more of an entertaining show instead of just me, because that always sucks. And everyone who joined in and asking questions. We'll see you every Wednesday at 9:30, right? That's when this now is. Wednesday, 9:30 on all the things.
I mean, we have to we're not going to steal the open bars ish, but 9:32, because every single week it's we're supposed to start now.
We've been banned from Facebook twice. Just my fault, but yeah, just to throw that out there, they don't like late starts and they ban you for a week if you start late, and it's happened to us twice in 5 weeks. So yeah, and again, I guess we're done here. That's my outro. So. I didn't know if you weren't going to remember, so I'm just moving past that.
I will never forget that now.
Look over there. All right. Really appreciate it. See you again next week. And good luck. Good luck with all your dynasty decisions. We're done here.